Mr. Sam Goldman.
Thank you very much. I'm honored, I'm humbled to be here. I want to thank the Stock Exchange, the students and faculty at Thammasat, all the entrepreneurs that are here, all the future entrepreneurs that are here, and guests. So thank you very much. What I wanted to do today is just give you a little bit of the story of D.light through my eyes. And hopefully we made a lot of mistakes and we've done a few things right. So hopefully you guys can learn a little bit from that, and then we'll have a little bit of questions afterwards. Oops. So I wanted to start off with one. And starting off with one, it's a story of a boy. It's in 2004, so we're going back in time. I was a Peace Corps volunteer in West Africa, and I was living in a village in the north of the Republic of Benin, and there was no paved roads, no running water, we didn't have any telephones, and I didn't have any electricity. So I used a kerosene lantern, you can see what it's like here, every day. And I would wait to the last possible moment at night to light it, because it's very noxious. It smells bad. You don't like it. And I had a very horrible incident where I was coming back to my village, and the boy who's to my left in this picture, he was a 15-year-old boy. He was my neighbor. He had gotten very badly burned in a kerosene accident. And so I went over, and when I went to his house, he was lying on the ground, and they'd put all sorts of traditional leaves and medicine on his back. He had third-degree burns from top to bottom. And it was one of those moments, and as an entrepreneur, everybody will have a different reason why you get inspired. But for me, that was, I hadn't really thought about it. I started doing research, and I found that millions of people around the world were getting disfigured and very badly burnt every year in kerosene fires. And then I had this experience where there was no electricity in my village, so I would sit there at night, and you'd see like satellites going in the sky, and I was just wondering, like, how is this possible that we can build satellites and we can have mobile phones and all this stuff, and yet, 1 out of every 3 people in the world is still using a kerosene lantern as their only source of light. So there was clearly a major market failure. There was something going wrong. So zoom forward. I had decided that I needed to use the power of capitalism, of the capital markets, to solve what is a very big problem. I was sure from my experience in Africa that just a foundation or charity or the traditional models, they weren't working. I had applied, and I was lucky enough to be accepted into the Stanford Graduate School of Business program. And along with some people in that program, we were looking at how would we create social enterprises, and I had founded a company called Dlight with classmates from the engineering department, the business schools. And during our Christmas break, we had gone to Myanmar, and I met this wonderful lady. Her name is Mia. And we had taken, this is in the very beginning of our initial prototypes. And one of the lessons I'd like to share is prototype early, prototype quickly, whether it's a service or a product or whatever you're interested in, rapid prototype it. So you can see it's nothing like what we have now, and it's very simple to put together. And we went and spent 2 weeks in Myanmar. And we left it with Mia, and she's a brick maker. And so she was spending about 1/3 of her family income. She spent about 15 cents a day on diesel. And they would burn it at night so that they could make bricks all night. The family stayed up all night. And then they would go to sleep during the day, and the sun would come out, and these are sun-baked bricks. And when we came back to her house after about a week and a half, when she was describing, we were like, how was the experience? What was it like? And she literally started crying as she was explaining to us how this had impacted her life. And that was another one of these moments where we were sort of blown away, and we decided that we had to go back, and we put together sort of a bit of a stronger team and worked weekends, and we worked nights, and we started entering every business school plan competition there was, and just really trying to find where's that seed capital going to come from? How are we going to start this business? And we were very, very lucky. We were finalists in the GSVC, and then we won. There's a competition called the Draper Fisher Jurvetson Venture Challenge, and it's $250,000. Winner takes all. And when we got that, we were able to go rent a garage in Silicon Valley, hire interns, and it went from this idea that was one person to a team of 10 people. And immediately we decided that we had to get closer to our market and closer to our customers. And that's something else I wanted to encourage you guys as you're thinking about your businesses. Get as close to your market as you can, because it'll allow you to innovate really quickly. But it was a hard lesson for us. We had 5 founders, and not everybody was willing to change their lives and move into the developing markets where we needed to go. And so our team essentially split in half, and some people chose to do other things. My co-founder, Ned, went to China, to Shenzhen, which is the electronics manufacturing hub of the world, and started up a manufacturing operations office. He'd never done that before. And I had a PO, a purchase order for 100 lights. We didn't have any lights, but I had pre-sold and convinced Foundation to order 100 lights. So I had a purchase order, and I went to India to build a team and start the office in what was the largest market in the world, India. And as soon as we got there, I started putting together a little bit of a team, but it was very inspirational. And in that first year, in 2008 in India, I just learned so much. And this picture is of a couple. It's Udayveer is a farmer, and that's his wife, Kamla Devi. And when he got our lights, he loved them so much. I remember he would come into the office, he would take the bus into the office, and he was really worried because he was a farmer and he didn't come into New Delhi very often. He was really worried he was going to get the little money he had stolen, so he would hide it in his shoes and in his socks, and he would come into the office and all these bills would come out, and he'd put them on the table, and he would order a carton of lights so that he could get a wholesale price. And then he would go back out to his village and he would sell them. And he took his kids out of the public school and put them into private school, and he funded their whole education on selling D.lights essentially to his neighbors. So that's happening in Uttar Pradesh. And then across the country in Orissa, we had our first 100% solar village, where every single family in the village had switched from kerosene over to our solar lights, and 100% of the kids were studying. And then we had these remarkable statistics where the family incomes had gone up by approximately 50% in this village. They happened to work with local materials, and they were selling them in the local markets, and they could work at night. And so based on these kind of stories, for us it was a way to prove to investors that this was something real. We had real products, and real people were buying them to make real changes in their lives. And so we went to raise what's called the Series A funding, and we raised $6 million. And essentially what we said, and this is, I would encourage you as you're thinking about your own fundraising to set clear targets with yourself and with your funders also about what you're going to accomplish with their money. And so what we had said is we need proof of concept, and here was our proof of delivery. We had delivered. And so we went and raised $6 million, and we said the next thing we need to do is prove that we can actually do this in a slightly more sustainable way, and that we can have some geographic expansion. So we took the money, and we started building out bigger teams, better teams. And what we were in India, what I was very, very focused on was how am I going to deliver these products affordably to a wider range of people. And this is a picture of some women who are in a microfinance organization. They were borrowers of SKS Microfinance, which was, at the time, the fastest scaling microfinance organization in the world. They were adding about 100,000 women every month. And we were piloting with them, and our results of this pilot were so amazing. I have to tell you, though, our team was working 20 hours a day. I mean, it was the only thing we could think about. We ate, we dreamt, we slept. Everything was SKS. How can we make this work? And for about 6 months, that's all we did. And our pilot results were so amazing that the CEO of SKS and the board members of SKS had heard about this, because our pilot results were better than their tests with Nokia on mobile phones. They were better than their tests with Unilever on water filters. We were outperforming all these massive companies just on sheer determination, really. But the women also, we had a 10 to 20% adoption rate in just a matter of a few weeks. For us, we had gone from selling 100 lights essentially in the course of a year to selling 1,500 lights in a couple of weeks. So it was a big jump for us. And SKS was going back and talking to the women, and they had The women were saying they had a 98%, a high satisfaction rating. So essentially, everybody loved what they were getting. And so SKS is coming to us and they said, give us the rollout plan for India. Let's go. And so we were all jazzed for that. And then SKS had their initial public IPO. And everything changed really quickly. And they got really focused on their core business. And this wasn't their core business. And we just dropped off the map. And what I want to encourage people as you think about this, there was two big learnings for us. One is you can and you need to find those big customers that you can latch onto and they just pull you along, right? And you want those as an entrepreneur. That's what can accelerate your growth. And at the same time, you have to have a couple of those because otherwise you're sitting there like me and we'd spent all of our time and all of our energy for 6 months and then we're all of a sudden back to kind of square zero. But the year ended on a good note for me because I got a call at about 2 in the morning from West Africa in French. And as I was trying to clear my mind, I realized that I was talking to the boy from the first slide. And he was saying, thank you, because somebody in the world had bought our lights and delivered them to Benin and given one to him and said, you don't need to use kerosene anymore. So now we continue to think about how we're going to scale up this organization, and we were getting pulled into new markets. And this is going to be a challenge that every entrepreneur faces between whether you focus your energies in one or two places or whether you allow yourself to go into multiple places. And we were getting pulled in and gone into Africa. And back in 2008, we had, there was a Dutch entrepreneur, and we had essentially convinced him to join D.light rather than do something competitive on his own in Tanzania. And the result of that was we now had an office and a team in Tanzania that we were supporting. And he had meanwhile convinced us that we need a new product to meet his market, which meant that we had to develop a lower cost product and one that he had specified. And the product that we ended up developing is here, and I'll show you a video in a second. But it was called the Solata. And we now, when I think about, again, this is about 1, 10, 1,000, 10,000. At this stage, all of a sudden, we were now shipping containers, 10,000 units at a time, out into the market. And this was a big jump for us. And now, today, we don't have this product anymore, but we have one that's replaced it. Today, we're delivering 10,000 units, sometimes 20,000, a month to students in Tanzania. But to give you an idea of what this meant to people in Tanzania, this is a short video, it's about a minute. Let's see if we can play it.
Asante Mungu wangu.
Inakuwa imeisha jana. Usiwe na wasiwasi. Usiwe na, hakuna kununua koroboi tena, hakuna. Hakuna koroboi tena. Mungu yuko. Hii 22,500 watoto. 22,500. Sola ni kweli. Unaona? Unapata mwanga. Nabonyeza tena.
Bueno, yore ngana ni kumbe minyangu di nyanguru.
Nabonyeza tena. Bonyeza tena.
Bueno,
nasima.
Minyangu ngana nyanguru boy.
Sawa?
Hata di kwa di magele kidelinu. Ayi yongoko.
Mungu kafika kwako leo. Haya. 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 Kwa hiyo kila asubuhi natoa
hiyo kaka na hizi hata.
Na lafu tu. Amambia karibu ni kunyane.
So you can see, well, the video is, it's interesting, right? Because it's unbelievable for some people to encounter this kind of change. On the other hand, what's important, and I'm sure you guys will run into this in your own businesses, is it's a completely new technology. This is not coming from God, it's coming from a factory in China. But you have to explain how this works, why it's important, how to use it, why you would use it, who's bringing it to you, how do you tell what's a good one and what's a fake one, how do you know if it's the right price, all these problems. And you have to do this in every house, in every village across the whole continent. So it becomes a really huge, huge challenge. And at this scale, what we realized now was, okay, we're shipping containers, and we know people like it, and we're starting to figure out how to make this work. So we said, the time's come. We're going to raise another round. We raised a Series B round of investment. We raised $5.5 million, and we said our next milestone is getting profitable and proving that we can take a growth curve that is exponential, but at the bottom, and really start ramping it up. So what we did is started more geographic expansion, and we were... The interesting part about this, you see a video like that one, and when you show it to investors, and everybody thinks you've hit the gold mine, right? And it was true. This is not unique to this lady, this Maasai. Everywhere in the world, all of our customers love our products. They love them. And there's no doubt, and we had it proven, it completely changes your life. If you want to know what it's like, go home tonight, turn off the lights, and see how fun it is. It's not fun. These products completely change your life. And yet, they did not move off the shelf. We were spending tons of money, all of our energy, cracking our heads against the wall, trying to figure out how to sell them. And I'm assuming that, again, and I want to encourage all of you, that even though you have the best idea in the world, and it seems so obvious, and it's a game changer, it's going to be very hard to introduce new concepts into markets. People are not there to buy your thing, and they have other things going on in their life, and just be prepared for that slog, because that's what it is. And this was true everywhere in the world, but I wanted to put up a hopeful picture because it wasn't true in the small Pacific island nation of Vanuatu, which is a population of about 250,000 people, and 100,000 of them have our lights. And so we were reaching a tipping point in this small Pacific island nation, and when our containers would come in, people would line up down the block and buy them for cash, which was amazing. And this picture was taken in a small island called Tana, and we would literally put lights in the back of the pickup truck, and the guy would start driving down the road, and people would be phoning ahead, and somebody would just pop out of the forest, stop the truck, give money, take a light, go back into the forest, and the truck would drive on. And so we were thinking, oh wow, we're going to actually be able to, have the first country in the world that's going to eradicate kerosene. And then we got to, and this small island nation helped us get to our next milestone, right? Our next milestone was we've shipped 1 million lights, which is it's a big enough milestone we can get our hands around it. We can feel like, oh, it might actually be starting to work. And this was the new light that we had made to replace the other one in Africa. We call it the S1. It was a solar study light, and we really wanted to see, can we get students, can we deliver something so students can study at night so they can realize their ambitions and their dreams. And we were getting very focused on that. Meanwhile, we had decided that, and Ned and I, my co-founder and I had approached our board, and our board was in agreement, and we really wanted to bring on an executive team. And we wanted to bring a lot more, there was a lot of passionate people in our company, but there weren't as many people who had actually knew how to manage a company with 100+ employees in 4 different offices around the world, who are shipping to 45 countries, and where we're starting to get at a scale where if you make mistakes, it's going to be very costly. And so we got a CFO, and we got a VP of product development, and we got a VP of operations, and we put MDs in, and we asked our chairman to come on as our CEO. And at some point in every company's history, you make this transition from startup to the next thing. And this was really the point for us. And at the same time, as we're doing that, we're starting to look at, okay, well, how do we expand our scope? How are we going to do more things? So, for example, moving from portable solar lanterns to solar home systems, where people have more in their homes, in their small businesses, where we can deliver them much more. This one that's shown right here had a GSM chip inside it, so we could turn it on and off, which meant that we could offer it to people at a small down deposit, and then they could, with the savings from kerosene, they could pay for it over time. And then on the right, you see a young lady who's in her community and thinking about how do we actually educate people very quickly, how do we have more brand awareness in these villages. And our company was all about scale. And that's one of the last points I want to make is as you're thinking about your own businesses, if you set your targets very, very high, you might achieve them. And if you set them very low, you'll probably achieve those, but you could have done so much more. And so we told our investors when we raised our funding that we would reach 100 million people by 2020. And actually our team because this team has done amazingly well, the new team we put in place. And we decided last year that we're not going to do it by 2020, we're going to do it by 2016. And the commitment we then made to each other was, in order to actually do that, we're going to need to figure out how to get into some big distribution channels and scale them up. And so I'm just showing some examples here of distribution channels that reach a lot of people, hundreds of millions of people with services and products that are almost utilities. And what we are now figuring out how to do is how are we going to make the highest quality, clean energy products that are distributed energy available to anyone in the world, anytime. And the last one, which is not D.Light's goal, this was my goal, was now that we're not shooting for 100 million by 2020 anymore, let's shoot for 1 billion by 2020, but we won't do it alone. So this was thinking about working with other social entrepreneurs, with governments, with NGOs. This is what the industry can do. And we're getting very close to this, and I'm clear that in this decade, actually just smallpox, or we are going to eradicate kerosene lanterns. They will be gone. And that is an amazing feeling. But what I wanted to end with is not 1 billion, but is 1. Because the only way we've gotten anywhere close to where we are today is because a lot of individuals have helped us a lot at every stage of the journey. So, it's from the professors and the mentors in business competitions, it's from our families, it's from the various employees, it's all these people at every stage who are helping and helping and helping. And so whether you're in here as an entrepreneur or you're in here because you're interested, it is what actually makes this happen. And the lady that's in this picture is a Taiwanese American, and I just wanted to share this last story because she had a very successful and growing career in the States. She was interested in social entrepreneurship, but didn't know and was scared. And she had the courage to join our fellowship program, which is a 1-year program where you come into the business. She joined it. She did a great job. We then hired her as a local hire in our Africa office, and she managed our West Africa marketing. And then just 2 months ago, I hired her to work for me in a global role where she will essentially build out a whole new function around product marketing. And what I think is so exciting is she is going to really be the one who launches the new products, the new initiatives, which are actually going to get us to the 1 billion people. So she's going to make it happen, even though 3 years ago she didn't even know if she would stick to social enterprise. And it's just so amazing to me, and I have so much hope for everybody that has competed in the competition. And I wish you guys all the best. And that's it, and I'm open for questions.
Thank you very much. Thank you. So now we have 5 minutes.
We have 5 minutes for the
Q&A.
question for Sam. Can you please?
Sure. Actually, if you can advance, I can advance one more slide. Yeah, just leave. No, sorry. I'll just leave up. These are the impact statistics as of a couple months ago.
So we actually have a lot of questions for you. It seems like everyone is interested. But we have to pick a few questions because we only have 5 minutes to that. The first question would be, how does your marketing plan be so successful that you'll be able to scale up into a worldwide scope?
How's our marketing plan
going
to be successful? Well, so we think of ourselves as building a brand. That's what we have to deliver. The industry, like many, didn't really exist 10 years ago. And now it's become a real industry. There's a global off-grid lighting association. There's a lot of competitors. There's a lot of companies that are copying us, knockoffs. So for us, it's all about building an actual global brand so that people can know that they're getting the best quality and that we can actually stand behind it. So most of our marketing now is about how are we going to educate people first on what solar is, but then make sure they know that D.Light is the one that's actually bringing it to them. And we do that through various means. One of the ones we launched last year was a much longer warranty, so that if people buy a product and they have any problems within 2 years, they can bring it back. We just replace it without asking a question, which is not something that's on an $8 product sold in the middle of nowhere. you know, it's...
So that's a secret.
I can't tell you my secrets.
Another one would be, have you encountered any political obstacles in developing countries? Something like bribery, local politics, and how did you and your team manage to get through?
Yeah, of course. I mean, our policy was really simple. We just act like all the major multinational companies. You know, there's no acceptance whatsoever for any sort of corruption or bribery. We just don't do it. We pay a higher price. That's life. And because we don't do it, everybody knows that they won't get away with it. The customs agents, you know, when you're importing products, anything, they just stop asking after a little while. So it's been really easy for us to just say that's a non-negotiable. We don't talk about it. We don't do it. We're going to hold ourselves to the highest standards, and it's been fine. Actually, it hasn't been a big deal.
Okay. So, Nongpin, let's move on to the live chat on the screen. Do we have another question from the audience?
So how do you deal with the imitation, if there is any?
There's tons of imitation.
Tons of imitation.
Yeah.
How do you deal with it
We're trying to figure out how to deal with it by understanding from other organizations too and big FMCG companies how they have dealt with it. But to be honest, we're really struggling.
Does the branding side of it kind of help at all, or?
The branding side helps, but now they're starting to copy our products and the branding. So, you know, what we're really trying to do is see whether we can get a whole group of us together, pool our funds, hire lawyers together, and figure out if we can, as an industry, go after these organizations rather than just as one company trying to battle them.
Wonderful. Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you very much.
Thank you for all the questions also.